secret love cave. Let's go.
This is Praying for Superpowers, a show about the deeper meanings, messages, and intricacies hidden within nerd culture. I'm Peter, and today we're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Secret tunnel, through the mountains, secret.
I made this episode because 2020 has been a crazy year, and there is one episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender that is better suited to help you deal with the craziness of 2020 than any other. And you already know what it is. That's why you're here. Zuko and Iroh might try to convince you that 2020 might have you like,
I can't live like this. This is impossible.
but don't worry, 2021 is coming. But the truth is, a calendar year doesn't change anything.
Delectable tea or deadly poison?
I know,
It's heartbreaking.
but we could get to 2021 and say,
Oh no.
so let's calm our minds, sing some songs, and focus on the journey.
You're worried too much about where you're going.
You gotta focus less on the where and more on the going.
Of course, you should stay active in standing up for what you believe is right. You should take action and be part of forward-thinking movements. But you should also take time to enjoy the world around you, even if things outside of that seem bleak.
What, like you're ready to go right now, naked guy?
What are you doing? I wasn't meant to be a fugitive.
It's the white jade bush, which is poisonous.
I'm a nomad.
Hey, me too. Nice underwear.
Never-ending rainbow. No rainbows.
Labyrinth?
And die.
This episode is so awesome as it follows the gang from their crazy escapades against the short screen-timed, eye-patched firebender, who obviously has an interest in music.
Hold on. It's too dangerous. Haven't you heard the song?
Two lovers forbidden from one another. A war divides their people.
Secret tunnel.
And die.
Just close them in. The mountain will take care of the rest.
And then they head into...
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth?
The name of the tunnel comes from Oma and Shu, the original earthbenders, as the legend goes, who discovered earthbending from the badger moles. Now, hot take, my theory, because of what we know from the Legend of Korra, is that these were actually the first badger moles. Maybe one of them was a badger and one of them was a mole, and in order to hide their love, they got earthbending from a dragon turtle, but we won't go into that anymore. I love the art and sound and music in this episode, but one of the things I love the most is when Katara and Aang find the tomb. And Katara reads this story, and we see this beautiful, incredibly well done Oriental brush style artwork that moves in this unorganic but incredibly beautiful way, and it pulls you into this story.
They met on top of the mountain that divided their two villages. He died in the...
At this point, it becomes very clear that this episode is a comedy to me. Now, don't think of that as a comedy like Adam Sandler, but think of it as a comedy in the Greek sense. Originally, there were Greek tragedies and Greek comedies. In a tragedy, at the end, everyone is dead. Hamlet is a tragedy, okay? But if you're looking at a comedy, what it means is at the end, everyone is married. So Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream is a comedy. Romeo and Juliet is a tragedy. This episode does a great job of showing us that because we see Aang and Katara on the love side of things. Now, they are young. They're 12 and 13, 12 and 14 in this episode, and that is something like I feel like I need to cover because I feel like a lot of people get kind of weirded out about that, and I totally get it. They're kids, but you know, there are a lot of things that goes into that. One of the big things is that in marketing, it's one way that they sell items. You know, if you want 8-year-olds to ask their parents to buy them Skechers, you make an ad with 12 to 15-year-olds wearing Skechers because we want to emulate those who are older than us when we're young. And so there's a bit of that to it. Romance is something that is always existent in art. It is something that just constantly exists in storytelling. And one of the things about this episode is that there's such stress on the characters in this moment, and they've been building to this for a season, with Aang immediately having a crush on Katara when he first sees her, and then that crush turning into a love over time. Now, I don't want to stay on that much longer. I want to go back to Sokka and Chong and the rest of the nomads and talk about how hilarious it is and how well balanced this episode is. We go from this hilarious Tommy Chong character with Sokka and all of the crazy folk music as they're walking through a cave with a bunch of wild animals attacking them.
Don't fall in love with the traveling girl. She'll leave you broken heart.
To this beautiful, kind of slow-moving, slower music love story between Aang and Katara, and both of those are balanced with this really interesting moment between Iroh and Zuko. And we know Iroh makes the tea, and it turns out to be
Deadly poison.
and Iroh and Zuko choose to risk death and head to the Earth Kingdom to seek help instead of returning to the Fire Nation.
We need to get help.
But where are we going to go? We're enemies of the Earth Kingdom and fugitives from the Fire Nation.
If the Earth Kingdom discovers us, they'll have us killed.
But if the Fire Nation discovers us, we'll be turned over to ATLA.
Earth Kingdom it is.
But as all of this is unfolding, Zuko, for the first time, really sees the effects of the war and what his people have brought to the Earth Kingdom. There's this really interesting moment, and it's really the first time we see an emotion of sorrow and regret and confusion from Zuko. We see him frustrated, angry, sad, all sorts of different emotions as he's fighting against Admiral Zhao and dealing with his uncle and the Avatar and all of that turmoil. But we don't really see him with this regretful, sorrowful face.
I know what you've been through. We've all been through it. The Fire Nation has hurt you. It's okay. They've hurt me too.
When Song pulls up the leg of her pant and shows burn scars, and he sees someone who, like him, has been hurt by the Fire Nation. And it is such an intense moment that we have to immediately move away from that to the lighter side of the story. And they do this so perfectly. The music from Tommy Chong and his wife Lily and their incredible team of dancing, drum-playing, Earth Empire hippies.
Oh, don't let the cave-in get you down. Don't let the falling rocks turn your smile into a frown. When the tunnel's as darkest, that's when you need a clown. Hey! Don't let the cave-in get you down, Sokka.
One thing that's pretty great about this episode is there's really only one moment of bending that is important. There's the little training sequence at the beginning with Katara and Aang working on their octopus forms. But that scene is mostly to remind us that Aang has feelings for Katara that are more than his fierce desire to protect her that we saw in the previous episode where he saves her from the Earth General. But instead, this is meant to show us that he just finds her attractive, and that's why she's wearing a swimsuit. The only other time in the episode where we see anyone use bending is when Aang uses his airbending to push Chong and Sokka and the nomads out of the way of a cave collapse, and then he jumps. He doesn't use his airbending, he jumps and physically tackles Katara out of the way of the falling rocks. Now, you could say he didn't airbend because then he himself wouldn't have gotten out of the way, but he could have airbent as he jumped. But his mind was so focused in the moment on protecting this person he cares about that they're separated. And I love how this sets up what is coming as far as the show goes. But I think it's something important for all of us to take stock in during this crazy time that is 2020. It's honestly a little insane looking at what has happened this year and how none of us have any control. We went into the year just prepared for whatever the heck it was going to be. We knew it was going to be an election year, and yeah, there were probably going to be some wildfires, but no one could have called a pandemic of this scale, and no one could have known how absolutely terrible it would have been in the ways it was. And honestly, we need to be serious with ourselves that a new president in the United States or a new calendar year isn't going to make this change. And I think a lot of people are waiting to get to this destination. We're waiting to get to a new president, one that is actually sane, and we're waiting to get to a new year. But the truth is, those things aren't going to solve the issues in our world. The truth is, we need to be able to focus on the moments that we live in, because it's small acts of kindness and love that are able to bring light to dark places.
We can make it.
And that's what I think this episode is so good at showing us. That amidst all of the action of the Avatar series, the constant bending, the cool moments, the fun, and the seriousness, the dark side, there's this light that you can choose to focus on. When looking back at history, you can choose to see the beauty in the story. And when looking at your own life, you can do the same. It's easy to look back at history and see only the good that's come from the bad, but it's very difficult to do that in the current time. I encourage you to be comfortable with your nerdiness and to look at your life right now and find the things worth being happy about. Don't set your mind on what could be in the future, because honestly, we might not get there. We don't know. No one has said we have more than today left to live.
Deadly poison.
So if you say, well, we'll just wait till things get better in the future, you might be waiting your entire life.
This isn't the exit. No. It's a tomb.
We'll catch you next time.
Hey, good plan! Even if you're lost, you can't lose the love, because it's in your heart. The tunnels, they're a-changing. It must be the curse. I knew we shouldn't have come down here.